Hey everyone, welcome back to Catholic Pipes. My name is Kadesh. I'm your host, and today I have a really wonderful guest. This guy is making waves within the Catholic dating scene. It is Taylor with the Trad Chad. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away and kind of talk a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Cool. Thanks, Kadesh. So yeah, Taylor with Trad Chat. Obviously, I run basically a coaching program specifically for Catholic men to find a high quality feminine girlfriend. And of course, with the end goal of marriage along the way. Because I was myself a single Catholic dude with no options, but I wanted to start a family. I wanted to get married, but I obviously had to find women first. There's no one at my parish, no one in my youth group. And so I had to expand. And I figured it out for myself. I started helping a couple other friends. And so I got 2 friends engaged with just free advice, just in my free time. And then I was like, what if I could do this more? Well, then I'd need it to pay me so I can, stop doing my other stuff and have that time back. And now I do it almost full time. I also work an engineering job from home too, but I kind of do the both together. So that's the summary.
Okay. That's really nifty. That is definitely something I think that a lot of us need, especially in the dating world. I think especially, as Catholics, we want to go out and, we want to have a great marriage, but yeah, first steps first, you got to find a girlfriend. And first steps before that, you got to be able to have the skill sets to find a woman. But you said something very fascinating that maybe you could elaborate a little bit on, which is you specifically said not just any type of woman, but you said a feminine woman. Can you describe like why you use that kind of descriptor for the type of women you're trying to help Catholic men find?
Okay, I'll try not to get myself in trouble. Most of the
Yes,
guys that I
no.
know that I'm friends with, they don't want a girl who's obsessed with becoming a lawyer or becoming a top tier doctor or becoming a business owner or something. They want a girl who is traditional in the sense that their end goal is to have a ton of kids and to take care of a household and to take care of her husband. And so that's why I use that specific descriptor, a feminine woman. She doesn't want to be traditionally masculine. She wants to be feminine. Because I've dated the boss babes, I've dated the lawyers before. They're no fun compared to a feminine woman whose goal is a family rather than accolades or a plaque on the wall, if that makes sense. That's why I say that.
That does make sense. And I think, yeah, obviously, yes, there's going to be some people who might be triggered by that particular type of definition. There's nothing wrong with career, obviously. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a career-driven individual. However, I think the nuance in that is simply this. If you want a good marriage, you find yourself inevitably going back to our intrinsic gender roles. And if you have 2 people who are completely career-driven, that leaves little to no room for the things that actually matter in life. And I think that's, the larger thing is that when you go before God, He's not going to sit there and ask you for all the awards and the accolades that you won for your career. He's going to look and say, did you live out your identity as a child of Christ? Did you live out your identity in your vocation of marriage? Did you raise up strong men and women? Did you love your spouse? And more importantly, was your family an icon of the Trinity? And so I think that nuance is there important. Mostly I'm trying to do you a service, as bro to bro. I don't want you to get in too much hot water, but I think it's a distinction that needs to be made, and that nuance has to be there because no, we're not saying careers are bad. We're saying that there's a higher calling that we cannot miss out on. And that comes through, like you're right, traditional roles. So
Yeah.
when it comes down to like helping men find this, like what are some of the hurdles that you see a lot of Catholic men going? Like what's something consistent? And the men that you've seen that have come to help you that you're like, this is a big problem that I've noticed. Maybe like a PSA to everyone else out there, like this is a consistent theme. Don't do this.
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of guys come to me and they say, it's the dating market is cooked. I'm just going to sit on my hands and let God take care of it. And, if it's meant to be,
Mhm.
it's meant to be. And I'm not going to put myself out there because all these women, they're this, that, or the other thing. They cheat on me or they don't respect me or they tell me I'm a nice guy. And ultimately, it's just an excuse for like rejection sucks, but it's going to happen. You got to put yourself out there. It's like this. They're holding themselves back out of the fear of being rejected, but you just need to put yourself out there. I get on calls with these guys, ask them like, how many Bible studies are you going to every single week? Maybe like one every single 6 months. How often are you like, does your Instagram look good? Does your dating profile look good? Are you actively trying to meet women? And a lot of them are just like, well, God will take care of it. That's what they tell me. And of course, like, I could bring up a
Mm,
million Bible stories. I could even bring up, like, as a Catholic, faith without works is dead. The same way that you can't say, like, a faith without action is, legit. You can't say, like, I want my dating life to improve, but I'm not going to actually work at it. That's the big problem that I see with guys. Not with the guys in my program, because the guys in my program, they want to get stuff done. But guys that are just kind of like on the outskirts, don't want to dip their toe in the water. That's what I hear.
interesting. I like how you brought that up because there's even kind of like that the idea of asking like, are you involved in a Bible study? It's really it's interesting to kind of see how interwoven all the aspects of faith are even in dating. Because you're right, at the very base level, it's how involved in your church life are you? Because that's where if you're looking for someone, obviously, if you're looking for fish, you're not going to go to the desert. You're looking for a Catholic woman. So if you're looking for a good Catholic woman is going to be at the church. She is going to be trying to volunteer. She's going to be showing up for the first time. She's going to be in the choir. She's going to be wherever. And if you're not consistently there, you're missing out on that. And that's twofold. One, for your dating, but two, your spiritual life. I mean, if you're looking for a trad woman, doesn't she not want a strong spiritual leader? So if you're not at church, well, you're not putting the vibes out there for her to be looking at you either in that sense, because they want a trad guy too. You want a trad wife? Be a trad husband. Trad husband, spiritual leader. So where are you in your process of receiving your sacraments and going to church?
Yeah, 100%. Another thing too, you mentioned a really good point. Or I guess I can kind of piggyback off of what you said. A lot of time you talk about how you need to be like a spiritual leader if you want to get a traditional relationship. Another thing too is like these guys, every now and then, these aren't the guys in my program because they're a little bit a different breed, but like every now and then I'll talk to a guy and they're like, I can't find a woman. And I am going to the Bible studies. I am putting myself out there on the dating apps. But the flip side is these guys are like, their life is not together. And like every guy has to find that journey and make progress, but like you shouldn't be trying to slay the dragon and get the damsel in distress when you don't even have like a consistent full-time income like, or you are 100 pounds overweight. Like you got to check some boxes before you put yourself into the dating market.
Yeah. No, I agree 100% too. Like those are definitely things to be put out there. And that's, yeah, I'm thinking about that. And I think that having your life together thing is a really big thing too. I mean, like, yes, if you're capable to have a full-time job, you should be having one. If you're one of those guys who's still trying to figure it out, that's okay too. But at the end of the day, like you said, at least be on the path of trying to figure it out. I think that's the big thing is like, where are you on the path of effort? Are you putting the
Mhm.
effort forward to figure out these mysteries of the income or how my life fits together or this, like, are you actually pursuing a solution? I think is like that fundamental base level is where's your ambition level at? Don't have to have accomplished everything, but do you have ambition to move forward? Because that
Yeah.
works as a great IOU for women. It's like if I can't present you with the job or this income to take care of you, what I can present you though is this list of skill sets that I have that I am trying to put out there in the job market. I have a vision
Mhm.
for what I want my family to look like. I have a vision of where I'm going eternally. Like those things do work in lieu of that the physical provisions is being at least to have something to show.
Mhm.
It's difficult to go out in the dating world when you're a complete total mess, you're in sweats all the time, you don't care about your appearance, you are definitely working odd end jobs with no end in sight, no ambition. I mean, and then you wonder, well, why is no one looking at me? It's kind of you're not presenting yourself well, dude. You might be a
Yeah.
five-course meal, but you're presenting yourself to me on a trash can lid.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
that's good. Yeah. I like to I like to always ask them like, would you let, guys with little sisters, would you let your little sister, if you were a potential suitor of your little sister or a guy like you, is that's a better way to put it, would you let your little sister date a guy like you? And if the answer is no, that's a big wake up call. And usually it's
Oh,
as simple as I like to break it down to the three F's: faith, fitness, finances. You need to be going to mass, going to confession, staying in a state of grace. You need to be making a decent income so you're not, at least not in like crippling debt. And then you need to be fit or at least healthy. You don't have to look like a bodybuilder, but you got to be healthy. You got to get some activity. Don't eat like McDonald's every day. The 3 F's. I like to say it's simple, but it's not easy. It's very, very simple. Like, yeah, you just need to go to the gym. Yeah, just make healthy food, but it's not easy because that takes a lot of.
Yeah. And then you're right. Those things do kind of play into that traditional male role. It's like faithful. Yes. Got to stand up. Got to be a leader of the household, your domestic church. 2, you got to be able to provide. That was one of the curses of Adam, is toiling the earth to provide. Like, that's something that we got to take on. And then you're right. Fitness. At the end of the day, your body's a temple. Are you taking care of it? If you plan on having children, I mean, are you going to be able to, when you have them finally, bend down and pick them up, go play, catch with them, run around? Like, yeah, all those things contribute to being a good husband and a good father at some point. Now, when it comes to the faith and whatnot, with the faith aspect of your program itself, um, I know this is something that a lot of us have heard, especially in purity cultures, but at any point is like, do you have like a prayer for a future spouse in your program at all? Is that something that you kind of advocate at all? Or do you see any sort of merit to that? And for most guys to like actively be putting that out there, to be praying for that spouse?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have one of the first things guys have to do when they enter my program, and like anybody can do this. I call it the RGW list, the really great woman list, because you're going to meet all types of women in the dating market. Some of them are going to be, when I say good and bad, I mean based on your personal standards, like what you're looking for. So, like, bad women for like a Catholic dude would be like, she's a dancer and she's an atheist. That's a bad woman. A good woman is like, okay, maybe she's a lapsed Catholic, but at least she's conservative. And then your RGW, your really good woman, meets like everything that you want on paper. She's an awesome girl. She goes to, confession, mass, all the things. And so I always start guys in my program with the RGW list, and it comes down to 5 musts and 5 must nots. If they don't have all of the musts, and if they have any of the must nots, they're not a really good woman. Don't waste your time, because you don't want to waste your time dating good women or bad women. You only want to spend time dating your really good woman. And then once you have that list, you can ask yourself, am I good enough quality to attract this type of woman? And now you also have a very clear picture in your head. So now you can ask, St. Joseph, St. Mary, the Holy Family for intercession on like finding this specific person. And it's funny because when you know what you're looking for, you're much more likely to find it.
The amount of psychological tests that have been done on that is absolutely astounding. There is 100% something to that. Having a goal always at the forefront, being mindful of the goal, does open your eyes up to the opportunities to make that goal a reality. But you said something I thought was like really, really awesome, and kind of a big issue that I've seen in society today that I think plagues individuals and relationships and marriages. And it's this idea of introspection. And I was really happy to hear you say that I have this list, because I was about to have a follow-up question of like, how often are those lists realistic? But then you kind of introduced the counterpoint to it, which was, all right, now that you have this list, ask yourself, can I attract this woman? I think that is so huge for a lot of people, is to be honest with themselves, to look in the mirror and say, all right, this is the goal that I have. Can I achieve it in my current state? And then that's where the real growth happens. Say, well, I want this. It's a good desire. It's something that I should have, or whatever it may be, however you're looking at it. And then saying, all right, I do want all of these things. So what am I doing in the process to be ready to receive that? Because if I was ready, I'd already have it, but I don't. And I think that's so important, because I think even in a relationship, being honest with yourself is such a huge component to it. And a lot of people don't have the ability or the wherewithal to sit there and look in the mirror and say, I'm the problem. I'm the problem with the issues that I'm facing in my life right now. I'm the issue. This fight that I had with my spouse was because of me. Or I'm not attracting a woman because of my choices and the way that I'm presenting myself. Now, do you find that do you find that kind of an issue as well? That like, as you're getting these lists and you're talking to these guys, do you notice sometimes that there is a lack of introspection, that you're dealing with a client, whatever the problem is, and then after they explain everything, you have to kind of give them a hard truth and say, I think that you are your own worst enemy at this point? Do you see that a lot of kind of this lack of introspection, not connecting the dots in terms of behavior and results.
Yeah. No, it definitely happens. And that's kind of the point of the exercise. It's to find the points where there's a disconnect. And so you can
Okay.
identify, because I asked them 5 musts, 5 must nots. And now I want you to imagine your ideal woman's 5 musts and 5 must nots. Do you do any of the things that she wouldn't want? Do you not do any of the things that she wants? And then we're going to list that as stuff that we're going to tackle during the program. And so I also tell them to, a little tangential, but like the stuff that you put in your list, it's got to be like, if she has certain quality, it's going to be literally impossible to have a relationship with her. You can't just say like, oh, if she doesn't have blonde hair, she's off my list. It's like, no, it needs to be like, hey, if she doesn't want to have any kids, she's off my list. Like that's a significant issue you need to filter for. But if you're like, oh, I want her to like the same music as me, it's like, dude, what are you doing? So you're 100% right. Sometimes there are guys that have like they're not looking inward enough, but the beauty of the exercise is it kind of draws you inward and you can literally list out like, what am I missing? Let's tackle these things. And even if you're not in my program, you can literally do this. 5 musts, 5 must nots. Then imagine your ideal woman. What are her 5 musts and her 5 must nots? And then figure out where you need to grow.
I like that. I mean, once again, I'm a married guy. I've been married for over 10 years. If I was in the dating scene having issues, yeah, your program is something that I would definitely sign up for. And especially for me now, looking and kind of understanding some of the nuances of like what it takes to have a functioning relationship. You're hitting the nail on the head in terms of some of those key issues that are really stunting men from finding the woman that they want. Now, with that being said, I mean, if somebody were to, before we get to something like that in terms of the program itself, kind of going back to the dating scene itself, where do you find that majority of the men are finding the women? So I know like if you got probably hundreds of success stories, but that being said, where are they finding these women? Is it pretty much they've been in front of them the whole time, but the lack of introspection blinded them to them? Or was it, or like where are they finding these women at typically? Kind of for like the other guys out there, like this is where guys are finding their wonderful Catholic women at.
The answer
I know it's
might
vague in
surprise
general.
you.
Yeah.
The answer might surprise you. Online dating. No joke. Online dating. And like guys are, anyone who's watching this right now is like, are you kidding me? Sure, only 5% of women on these apps are Catholic, but they're looking for like fellow Catholic men. So all of a sudden, this 5% is also looking for the other 5%, which is Catholic guys on the dating apps. So like they're looking for a very specific thing. And if you position yourself correctly on online dating apps, you can like find the needle in the haystack pretty easily just because of sheer volume. And then also it's kind of like, I'd say it's like 60-40, 40% being in-person events, 60% being online. But yeah, that'd be my answer. 60-40 online, in person.
Interesting. I guess like that's such a huge turnaround, I guess, for myself, because I mean it used to be like, how old are you again, if you mind me asking?
I'm turning 25 in like 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh. 25. Got a decade on you. With that being said,
Nice.
I remember when it was like if there was a young adults theology on tap or whatever it was, like if you're looking for a woman, you put those events on your calendar and that's where you're at, because the online dating scene back in the early 2010s, especially for Catholics, was dismal. It was very dismal. There was one, I think it was Catholic Match or Catholic.com, something like that. And I remember trying to use that when I was looking around, and oh my gosh, the matching algorithms were terrible. It says, what are your big bugaboos in Catholic teaching? It's like, for me, I'm like, I believe all of them. And then they pair me with women who'd be like, yeah, I don't believe in the church's teaching a contraceptive. And I'd be like, okay, next. How are you matching people? Like, you know what I mean? So it's interesting to see that like, even in this realm, it's completely changed. And in doing so, it offers a new set of challenges. And I was wondering if you could maybe kind of talk a little bit about the challenges that online dating presents, as opposed to like what a lot of us may more traditionally be used to, which was you see them in person, maybe some speed dating, maybe some church events, you get the courage, you ask them, and then you get rejected and you try again, rinse and repeat. But online dating is a little bit different, it seems like. And so could you talk a little bit more about some of the hurdles and some of the challenges and maybe even some of the techniques, if you would, without giving too much away, of like how to navigate online dating. Like, how do you make the most of it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. I'd say big pitfalls. It's tough because there's a couple different components to the troubles of online dating. The first trouble is, yes, there's not a ton of Catholic women. So you do have to kind of like go through, you have to wade through a lot of garbage. Okay, garbage sounds really brutal. You got to wade through some garbage to get to the diamond in the rough. So it's mostly about doing the waiting and then knowing what you're looking for and then basically just like planning good dates. So another thing too is the mental health aspect because these dating apps they are designed to be addictive. It's but I'll counter that and say like, but Instagram is the same way, YouTube is the same way, LinkedIn is the same way. So if any guy says I'm never going to use online dating because it's addictive, then I'm going to tell him, okay, then delete YouTube, delete LinkedIn, delete Instagram, delete everything because they're all trying to be addictive. So you have to counteract the mental attacks on you. And the biggest mental attacks are number one, you don't get any results because most guys listening to this have probably tried a dating app. They got zero matches and they didn't walk away thinking like, oh, dating apps don't work. The most primal thought was probably something's wrong with me. I must be just a hideous ogre because I got nothing. And it just really hurts your self-esteem. And so that's probably the biggest issue is guys don't use them right. They get zero matches and then they're just like they just call it off forever and completely throw in the towel when they really should have given it a better try. And it's as simple as getting better pictures, learning how to fill out an interesting profile, and then learning how to text women in a way that doesn't feel like cringy or needy or like you're trying to like force them into a date, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And that is, I think, like you said, like part of the other hurdles too, like you're talking about, is one, it's the lack of feedback. I think that's the hard one. It's like if I go in there and I'm face to face with somebody, I can read body language. And the funny part that I say is like even that can be difficult. For me, I have I don't know about you, but a lot of guys have ADHD, and I have pretty intense ADHD. But one of the quirky superpowers is attention to detail, and so especially with people. So as I'm talking to somebody, I'm noticing the changes in your eyebrows. I'm noticing the changes in your body language. And that tells me, all right, that topic off limits, try something else without even, preemptively. And so it's like when you're dating, you can get that feedback. Ooh, okay, don't talk about that topic. Okay, she's twirling her hair or she's kind of leaning in closer. Okay, this is working. Okay, she's interested. Whereas online dating, like you're saying, it's as simple as swipe, you're gone, or no matches. And yeah, you're right. You spiral. What is wrong with me? What is going on? And then even the texting yourself, I cannot see her face. I cannot see if she thought that she got the joke or if she thought that was funny, or like you think about it afterwards saying, oh man, if she could have seen my body language, she would have known that I meant it this way. So there's definitely that issue. So when it comes to texting, like what would you say is like some advice you give when it's talking to somebody online? And once again, you can't see any body language. You have no feedback. So what is a good general rule of thumb when you're communicating with somebody virtually that you would say, make sure you don't do this, but kind of lead with this or do it this way. This is the best way to engage in, virtual communication via texting. What would be some advice you would give for that?
Yeah, this is a great question. Inside of my program, I've developed a ton of frameworks of like step by step. I'm not going to give you a word for word script because then you sound like a robot and you're not being a genuine person, but like a general framework. It's similar to like a job interview. You prepare for job interviews. You learn how to present yourself well, and there's kind of a framework of stuff that you can expect, stuff that you should say or shouldn't say. So I kind of built that over, the past 100, 200 clients, kind of built that structure. And so it's funny. So 4 steps. I guess I should say there's different mediums that you get a woman's number. You can get her number from a dating app, or you can get her number from like an in-person meetup. And then dating app, there's an extra step because you have to go from match to number and then number to date. If you meet her in person, it just goes from number to date. So it's a little bit less complicated. 4 steps to go from match to number. I call it or 5 steps, sorry. The FLIRT framework, FLIRT. You have to start with a fun opener because you have to actually get the girl to open the message because most guys don't know this. Women are getting hundreds of likes every single day. So anytime you message her, there's a list of 100 guys that are constantly messaging her and it's bumping to the top of her inbox. And so you have to actually have an interesting message that gets them to open the conversation. And so, fun opener, like my favorite openers that I used to send, way back in the day, I still have a screenshot of my chat with my fiance. The opener was cute, curly haired, Catholic, dot, dot, dot. What's the catch? And then we get off into a really playful conversation. Another way you could open it is, let's say she's playing a sport, she's playing pickleball in her profile. I like to call it kind of like the challenge opener. You say, like, when we play pickleball together, I'll let you win, winky face. So it opens a fun dialogue and it's like kind of challenges her and demands a response, but it's fun. And then the third thing that I like to send is I look at a subjective interest on her profile and tease her for it. So, oh, you love Taylor Swift? Hopefully you're open to converting. And so you just need to send a good opener that convinces them to open the conversation and engage with you, as opposed to the other 99 guys that are in her inbox. Step two is just a little bit of banter. Just talk to her, have fun, flirt, tease. And really, it only takes, like, if you're on the dating app, it should take you 3 to 4 messages of just flirtation. So, like, you send a message, reply, that's 1. Message, reply, that's 2. Message, reply, that's 3. So 3 to 4 message and replies, just kind of like fun, lighthearted talk. And then you can ask her, the third step is the I intentions. So fun opener, and then lighthearted banner, and then I intentions. You literally just say, hey, by the way, what are you looking for on here? This step takes you from the hamster wheel of just like texting, 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 texting that goes nowhere. You say, what are you looking for on here? It's a pattern interrupt. And she says, like, wow, no one's ever asked me this before. So you'll just say, hey, what are you looking for? That's where you can kind of gauge her quality. If she says, I'm looking for a life partner, I'm looking for marriage, or I'm looking for a relationship, beautiful, you can move on. If she says, like, I'm just looking for a friends with benefits or something, then you can end the conversation. But after she replies, she'll ask you, what are you looking for? You tell her what you're looking for. She'll agree to it most likely. And then you just request her number, FLIR, request her number. You can just say, I'm glad we're on the same page. What's your number? I'll set up a date or something fun. She gives you her number, and then T, you're going to stop texting on the dating app and transfer over to the phone number. The biggest mistake I see is guys think that dating apps are used for getting to know a person. They're not. Because, like you said, you're 100% right. Texting is so crippled. It's such a crippled medium of conversation because you can't tonality, expressions, speed, and cadence. You can't get that in text. So you need to get them as fast as possible in person to where you can actually talk to them rather than just spinning your wheels. And then I'll pause there if you have any questions, because then I'll explain how to set up a date on the number after that. But do you have any questions about the first 5-step framework?
No questions, just a small little interjection, just saying 100% agree with that. And even kind of in real life, that's very much kind of like the same process that I would do, or I did even when I met my wife, was like the little flirty, the kind of opening up, obviously all in person, a couple times, then it went straight to the date. Then even at the first date, it was stating intentions. Like, hey, I'm not serial dater. I am actually looking at my vocation. And I'm looking for someone to be to marry. Is that what you're looking for? And it was, yes, that's all right, great. Then let's continue dating. But yeah, that's very interesting that it kind of applies, like you were saying, from the real world to the online. There is a mirror reflection, but on the virtual side, there is a few more steps that you have to go through. And if you can get those, then you're ready for the next part. So what would the next part be? So we got her. We opened up with a fun little opener. We had our lighthearted banter going back and forth. We have our intentionality. We got the phone number because we're setting up a date. We're transferring away from the dating app because, like you said, it's just a cesspool of a bunch of messages. So, like, you're not going to get direct responses. So we move straight to texting. And then what do we do from here once we get to this point?
So from there, it's going to be a little bit more drawn out, and that's not a problem. Because on the dating app, you should be getting in and out, go from match to number in literally like a day, and like literally like 1 or 2 screenshots of like messages. Once you're on the number, now you're going to transition into, okay, I don't have to be as flirty anymore and as interesting. Now I can just kind of like get to know her a little bit and then plan a date. So I call it the date framework, 4 steps, DATE. D is drop the opener. And that's just, you're just going to message her. Usually I just like to say, hey, with a waving emoji. And if this is a really high quality Catholic girl, what is she going to say? She's going to say, oh, is this Taylor? Because she's not giving out her number to tons of guys. And then you can say, yeah, it is Taylor. And then I kind of like to open the conversation up with just sending a picture of what I'm doing or what I did that weekend or something. And just say, just did, XYZ. What are you up to? And then that kind of opens up the dialogue. So an example would be like, if I crush a steak dinner with the boys on Sunday night, I save that picture and then I send her in the morning. I'm like, just crushed this amazing steak dinner last night. What are you up to? And then it's just kind of normal human conversation, and I don't know, I'm kind of doing it on the fly, but like, do you like steak? Are you vegan? Playing with her, kind of joking. And then you're going to get to a point where you feel pretty comfortable. And then you're basically just going to, I already covered it. You're adding some small talk and some banter. So drop the opener, add some small talk and banter. T is kind of transition into logistics. So now the question is, where does this girl live? Because if she lives in Kentucky and you're in Wisconsin, okay, this is not going to work unless you want to go like long distance. So you're just going to ask her, by the way, like, where are you from? Or maybe the topic of conversation is kind of relevant to where she's from. Maybe she's talking about her work and you can say like, oh, is that close to home for you? Okay, where is home for you? Where are you based out of? She'll say, I'm in Wisconsin. So I'm just going to use examples. She'll say, I'm based in, Fond du Lac. And you can be like, cool, I'm based in Milwaukee. And you can have a conversation about that. But now okay, this girl's in Fond du Lac. I'm in Milwaukee. This is, now I've gotten a very crucial piece of information. And then once you have established the logistics, so you're going to go to E, which is establish the plans. And so from that point, you're going to basically just say like, in the flow of no conversation, hey, by the way, there's this really cool XYZ place I've always wanted to try. You should come with me. And then if she's down, then you can go for, okay, now, this time, like what days are free for you? Okay, Thursday, PM, or Golden. So you could be like, there's this really cool sushi place kind of in between us. I've always wanted to go. You should come with. She says, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. Awesome. What days are you free? And you kind of open it up, then you can set it in. But the biggest mistake I always see is guys will say, hi. She says, hi. And they'll say, when are you free? You are a stranger, a complete stranger. You got to talk to them for like a day to 3 days, just kind of getting to know them a little bit before you try to transition into meeting them in person. So FLIRT to get the number, and then DATE to go on, a date. And it's not like I came up with some massive, never heard of before framework. Because like you said, you were like, I kind of did this already in person. And this was how many, 5, 10, 20 years ago? I don't know. And so it's not like this revolutionary thing, but it's just like most time humans just need to be reminded rather than like learn something completely new. So I have to remind guys, hey, don't ask where she lives, in your first message. That's super creepy. So those are the frameworks for free. That's it.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense too. Like, and you're right. It's like this nuance. And I think he also pointed out something too. It's just this idea of the performance anxiety of like, the reason why you pop off those questions is just kind of like, you're excited. Oh my gosh, I've got somebody, got some interest. You're like, let's just move on. Because it's almost like what was it, FOMO, the fear of missing out. You know what I mean? You get this, you get freaked out. Like I've got a girl. And then all of a sudden you're like, I can't lose this. I can't. This took a lot of effort. I can't lose this. And you realize, yes, but it's still slow and steady. You know what I mean? If you do each step and you move in the right direction, you're going to get there. Speeding it up, that's a recipe for disaster, trying to speed everything up. So you're right. It's this idea of like remain calm, follow the steps. And I think that's something that people forget is just this idea of breathing. Like, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Let's keep this thing moving forward. And it's okay. Breathe. You're not going to be missing out on anything because it's taking a little bit longer than you would like it to take.
Yeah. And a big part of that too, you need abundance. If you go to Bible studies all the time and you can think off the top of your head, there's at least 3 or 4 girls that you've had conversations with before. Maybe you could ask them out. All of a sudden, this one girl doesn't seem like this magical princess in a tower that you can't screw up. All of a sudden, it's like, I know 5, 10 girls. They're really cool. This one girl, if she doesn't work out, that's okay. The problem is when guys have 0 options, this one girl is their last chance. And so they just like way overdo it. I always like to use the analogy. It's like a car salesman and he's like 5 cars below his weekly quota and it's Friday afternoon. He's got like really bad, we call it commission breath, where he's like really like hammering prospects, being very cringy and forceful, trying to get them to buy his car versus the salesman who hit his quota by Wednesday. Wednesday through Friday, he's got this really nonchalant energy. He doesn't care if this person sells or not because he already hit his quota. It's the same thing with dating. If you know a decent amount of girls and you put yourself out there, if Rebecca, just a random, if Rebecca doesn't work out, there's Sally and Susie and Mary. And so you're not going to be super overbearing and super nervous. So guys just have to get themselves into that mindset by putting themselves out there.
Yeah, you're right. Putting yourself out there is going to be the biggest thing. And it's almost like a universal truth. I think even for myself and my own entrepreneurial endeavors, I realized that a lot of the opportunities that have come my way that have allowed me to keep on going with entrepreneurship is the continual putting myself out there, the continually like kind of making myself uncomfortable, like taking on bigger events, uh, going out and just saying, I'm going to shoot my shot for this really high end interview. I've got to keep on putting yourself out there. And then all of a sudden, all these opportunities start coming your way that you would not have had, absolutely not have had by just sitting there and saying like, oh, well, I want to do entrepreneurship, but it's all about who you know and time and place. So I'm just going to wait for my time and place. It's like, well, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to get frustrated and you're going to say entrepreneurship is a sham because you did it wrong, And I think that's the same thing with the dating world, thinking that guys like you, like coaches or whatever, like these guys are just shams because it's like, no, it's that they're offering advice. The problem is you have to take it and you have to implement it. That's always the kicker that everybody forgets. There is no magic bullet to dating. There is no magic bullet to success. It's a bunch of little things done that amalgamate over time that get you to where you want to be at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like it's not rocket surgery. Like it's very simple, and like you could technically find everything that I say on YouTube for free, but ultimately the question is like how long do you want to wait for that? Because for me it took me like 2 years to figure things out. So can you afford 2 years? Cool. Figure it out yourself. If you don't want to wait 2 years and you're 30, you're in your early 30s, the clock's ticking, all your friends are engaged, you want to speed things up, that's when you would come to me or some other coach for help. It's the same thing with like if you have someone who's done this 100 times and you just learn from them directly, you can do it in like 25% of the time it would take you to figure out on your own.
Yeah. And I think you said too, like that also ties back into that whole entire idea of knowing yourself. You have to know yourself. Like, oh, I'm not going to do this or that, and because I can do it myself. It's like, okay, well, be honest with yourself. Are you? Are you really going to do that? And if the answer is no, then reevaluate your priorities because then it's like finding a woman or success in the way that you imagine it is just never going to come to fruition. Then you don't really care about it that much if you're not willing to sit down and say, all right, what's the first step getting towards that goal at the end? But yeah, you're 100% right. You got to put yourself out there. You got to be making changes. And someone like yourself comes in as the accountability, essentially. It's like, yes, all of the information I have, sure, you could find it yourself, but the convenience is I put it all in one place. Two, I'm here for you as well. I'm that accountability. I'm that person to troubleshoot for you what you can't because maybe you're lacking that introspection at the moment, but you'll get it eventually. But you're going to need some help. You're going to need someone there to point out when you have a crazy idea, when you are not thinking correctly about the subject or you're missing an issue. That's where you come in. And so with that being said, I want you to talk a little bit more about your program. Like, what is it that you're offering and maybe some success stories that you can kind of put out there as proof positive? Like, this is what I offer. And then here's what the end result looks like if you follow what I teach you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically 3 pillars. It's always 3 pillars. Number one is it's a Gen Z term, looks maxing, but making sure that, like you said, you're a 5 course meal, but you have to present yourself on a silver platter, not on like a trash bin cover or whatever. So step one is always, it's just let's get your skincare dialed in so you're not, covered in monkeypox. Let's get your beard trimmed up and pick a style that suits you best. And then let's get a haircut that also suits you best. And let's stop going to great clips. Let's go to like a legit barber. And then fitness. Let's make sure that you have a healthy body. You don't have like double chin or anything crazy like that. And so looks maxing ultimately comes down to those 4 things. This is the first thing that I do with guys. And again, this is stuff you can do yourself. And then another thing too is outfits too. Instead of wearing Crocs and cargo shorts, like you got to present yourself like a guy who is successful, high status, knows what he's doing. So like it's just simple. Dress well. So dress well, get a beard style that fits you, a hairstyle that fits you, fix up your skincare, and fix up your fitness. And so that's kind of the first thing that I do with guys. And now that you are, the perfect product, Step two is let's get you in front of as many high quality women as possible. And so Instagram is great for that. Online dating is great for that. And then in person events, like specifically Catholic events, is great for that too. And so you don't even have to be in my program to get good online dating photos. So guys who come through my program, I actually have a network of 44 photographers internationally. It sounds crazy. It's true because I've been doing this for quite a while. So they'll get a photo shoot with a local photographer, and then they'll have 30 to 40 photos which are going to take care of their dating profiles, and it's going to take care of their Instagram. And then you just start meeting women. Were you going to ask a
That's
question?
okay. Oh, I was just gonna go ahead and just say right off top of that, that is really impressive. That service in and of itself is worth so much. And I think that's something that even for myself, I'm like, shoot, I would sign up just to have that availability, have a professional photographer come out and take photos to actually make me look good that then I can go ahead and put out there, for the dating scene. Because like you said, even virtually, we feast with our eyes first and then we find out what's on the inside. And so to be able to like take care of that, that's huge. So you take care of the grooming aspect and the aesthetics. And then from there, what else can a person expect to have in the package? Because that in and of itself is a huge value. So then what's the
Yeah.
next thing that somebody gets? I get to look good. I get some consulting on my appearance. There's photographers available to me as part of me signing up with your course to make my profiles and everything look better. Now what else? What else comes along with your package and your service?
Yeah. Third, it's going to be focusing on, okay, so like I'm attractive to the ideal woman. I'm in the position where I'm in front of my ideal woman. Now the question is, how do I get someone to go from a stranger to on a date with me? And then a second, third, fourth, fifth date. Because the most of the struggles I see is number one, my ideal girl just isn't interested. So we cover that. And then number two, I can't find a lot of ideal women for me. So we cover that. And then number three, how do I get my ideal girl on a date with me so I can actually start a relationship? So that ultimately comes down to planning really fun dates, learning how kind of like the texting that we talked about, how to get a woman out on a date over text, another thing too is like how to meet a person or how to meet an awesome woman in person and then go from we're just friends to now we're on a date, and how to do that without souring the friend group. Because I don't know, you might have done this in your personal life. I know I have. I know a ton of guys who have. They get a little overzealous. They're like, hey, I'm going to fix my dating life. And they ask out every single girl at the Bible study. And then all of a sudden, the second they walk in a room, all the women cower because the women are like, this guy's going to ask me out. And so you have to make sure that it's all balanced. And then from that point, that's pretty much what the main pillars of the program are. Once that program's done, I can transition into like relationships and stuff and how to build a solid relationship, how to vet. Is this girl good enough quality that I'm going to give her the right to steal half my stuff if she goes crazy in 10 years? Like, is this girl quality to be the mother of my children and stuff? It's it's funny, but it's true. I like to frame it that way because guys have to realize like when you get married, you are signing a contract that gives the woman the right to take half your stuff if she wants out. And no fault divorce is a thing in most states. So you have to get a girl that you trust. And like a good way to kind of think of it is let's just imagine 5 years down the line, I have two kids with this woman. If I die, would I trust this woman to take care of my kids? If you don't, do not get serious with her. If you do, hey, that's a really good sign. Keep going. But ultimately, that's what we do. Be attractive to your ideal woman, put you in a place to meet women through online dating and Instagram photos, and then, of course, my social events, and then learn how to get a stranger out on a date and build a really good relationship. So that's kind of what I focus on. And it's actually funny. My average is first date in 6 days. That's the average. And I actually have a guarantee inside my program where if in 90 days you haven't met a really high quality Catholic woman, you just get your money back and get to keep everything. And I've had like in my 100 something clients, I've had one person take it, and it's because the one person, bless his heart, but he was neurodivergent, had some issues with social cues and stuff. And he said, like, hey, this program doesn't really address like someone with Asperger's. And I was like, you're totally right. It doesn't. Here's your money back. So if you have Asperger's, God bless you, but I'm not familiar with that sort of situation. So probably not going to be the best fit. But if you don't have that, we're good to go. And so, yeah, first date in 6 days, and then roughly like relationship, it depends on the guy because some guys just want to start dating. They haven't dated ever. And so they don't want to get into a relationship right away. They want to get into that abundance mindset. And then other guys are like, no, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So I'd say like girlfriend in like 3 to 6 months is kind of the average. And then marriages, I don't have any yet. because usually it takes like 2 years of dating to probably, like for me, it took 2 years of dating to get married. I'll be getting married in June. But for most people, it's going to take 1 to 2, 3 years in the market to get married. So got a lot of guys with girlfriends, got a lot of guys going on weekly dates because that's about the baseline that I would promise people. So yeah.
But and then once again too though, but that's also the thing too is like you're a dating coach as well. So that's the thing too is like whether or not you have marriages underneath your belt or not is irrelevant to the actual service that you're offering, which is I'm just trying to help you be able to envision getting married in the future by giving you the skill sets to be able to date. Because at that point in time, like marriage, yeah, you're right. That's something very important, finding the right woman. But you can't even think about that until I've got the basics down of how to even attract a woman, how to keep a
Yeah.
woman, how to make sure that I'm the right guy for her and she's the right woman for me. So it sounds like
Mhm.
it's quite successful. Your clients are doing great, and appreciate the disclaimer too about like that one client that you could not address. And you're 100% right. Those do take specialized skills. Kudos for you kind of understanding that, like where your skill sets end and where a new set is needed, and then that person can get referred to somewhere else. But that's a very great numbers. That's very great numbers to hear that like over 100 or so clients so far, and as of right now you had one, and it was not particularly the course's fault. It was just
Mhm.
a different needs type thing. So those are excellent numbers. But yeah, I'm definitely want to go ahead and for everybody listening out there, I will have all of his links. I will have his social media, and I will have links to his program in the description. So if that is something that you are interested in, if that is something that you feel that you're struggling with, is that you feel called to the vocation of marriage, but you are having one heck of a time trying to find that woman for various reasons, it seems that Taylor is your guy. This is the guy who's going to be helping you. The success rate seems phenomenal. And as far as what we've heard today, I mean, everything sounds completely on point. None of what you said today seemed out there, fringe, completely in the realm of theory. It was all very, very practical, all very practical, and services that we do need. I still can't get over the whole entire 44 photographers internationally everywhere to make sure that your clients have, availability to get those photos done. I mean, I'm still blown away by that in and of itself, but you're the real deal. And so, any Catholic guys out there who want to be the real deal, you got to get involved with the real deal himself. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say to the audience members about what it is that you do, anything that you're working on, and even right now, just kind of shouting out where they can follow you and take a look and see what it is that you are doing? The floor is
Yeah.
yours.
So if you want to watch my YouTube, you can go to youtube.com and just look up Real Trad Chad. So you can find me there. If you want to find my Instagram, you can go to Instagram at Real Trad Chad. I'm there. And then if you want a Catholic community of like-minded men all trying to improve their dating lives, you can go to school.com/Catholic, SKOOL.com/Catholic. And so I have a couple hours worth of free courses in there that you can use. And I think right now there's 133 guys in my community. And so there's 133 guys all pushing each other to get better, and some free coursework too. I mean, honestly, you can just get results with my free stuff. You don't even have to pay me. So if you want the brotherhood, you want the free courses, just join my community, and then we can, you can make some stuff happen. It's funny because I have guys that get results with just my free stuff. I have one guy who he took my free course. He learned how to use FaceApp. So he didn't even get new dating photos. He just used FaceApp on his dating photos. And he just texted me the other day. He's been dating this girl for a couple months. He just told me last night. He's like, yeah, this is the girl I'm going to marry. Like pretty solid stuff. So yeah, you want to find me, Real Trad Chad, YouTube, Instagram, and then school.com/Catholic. And that's school with a K for some free courses.
All right. Perfect. That sounds amazing. So guys, just kind of keep your eyes open, follow this guy, because I sincerely believe that pretty soon this guy's going to have monopoly on the Catholic dating world. So we're going to probably see him on the Oprah show here in the next couple of years or so. So
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, it would be. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and stay tuned for some more great speakers, more great content. And this is Kadesh with Catholic Pipes and Taylor with the Trad Chad.